That's right.
XtremeBrass.com is an interactive website for brass players and music educators alike. Brought to you by Wayne Downey of the Concord Blue Devils Drum and Bugle Corps.
So you have to tell me about XtremePower Endurance. What a unique name for a brass technique book.
Well, you know, when you asked me to do something, I thought, what can I possibly do that hasn't been done 17 ways to Birdland already?
Right.
Number one. And number two, what is it that brass players really need? In at least, what do I think they need?
Right.
And what I came up with was most brass players primarily need to have power and staying power.
Right. Endurance.
Endurance.
Sure.
In other
Strength.
words, strength. And you'll need to be able to project your sound, especially in the venues that you and I work mostly. Music that's essentially outdoor music.
Sure.
Or even music for theater.
Yes.
So those players, be they trombonists, tubists, trumpeters, whatever, they're going to need to be able to project their sound, and they're going to need to be able to do it for long periods of time.
Absolutely. And so what's in the book? I mean, what do you provide the performers to really help them build that strength and that endurance with the power that's necessary as a performer?
Well, the premise was this. What kinds of things historically were played with great projection and had to be played with great projection? And when I thought about that, what occurred to me was, again, it goes back to our roots in a way, bugle calls.
Oh, right, absolutely.
Because these were not essentially music so much as they were signaling devices.
Right.
And so the idea was to get a certain sound with clarity over a large distance.
Right. So what you're saying to me is that you're taking a lot of these bugle calls and you've brought them into exercises that will provide the performer the availability to build strength and to build endurance with a great full sound.
Well, that's the idea, because everything you do, you want to do, you know, in tune with good quality and characteristic sound.
Sure, absolutely.
But these things are essentially, I took fragments of calls,
right?
Be they Civil War, Union and Confederate calls, or Napoleonic calls, or calls from the British military.
Sure.
And just would take a fragment or a short selection, and then extrapolate that out into a full etude, utilizing differences in dynamic, differences in articulation, and all the while accessing the main overtone harmonic series in the horn. Because if you can do that, then you can control the power of the horn, if you can control your access to the intervals.
Well, it's kind of like when we were growing up as kids. I remember doing all the scout calls.
Right.
And we talked about what was number one, right?
Number one.
Which everybody relates to being at the races these days. But that was really cool, number one. And I remember hours and hours of sitting there working on each one of these calls. And because of their intervallic difficulties, you get a better sense of pitch center and tone center when you could play them correctly with a clear sound. But it built up the strength in my face amazingly. And I know you and I both come from that school because as children, that's what our foundation was.
And what we learned was it worked.
It worked. It worked extremely well.
Moving from that to trumpet literature was so much easier.
Right, absolutely.
Because we could, in fact, make that happen and make those leaps and with consistent sound. And so that was the premise.
Sure, absolutely. Now, who really should use this? But can beginners use it? Intermediate players, advanced players? Who's going to best benefit? Or all players going to benefit from it?
I think essentially all players will. Once you get past the rank amateur beginner stage, once you can access, say, top space G, you should be able to play most of these. And an intermediate player would have no problem learning these and rehearsing them. An advanced player is going to look at these as a return to fundamentals. And a continuing kind of reinforcement of the things that are necessary for their style of playing. Jeff Kivett said to me, sure, these are the kinds of things, that we did, as you just said, when we were kids. Sure. However, these are the things I play in order to maintain my ability to consistently play, 8 shows a week and 2 on Sunday and that kind of thing. So.
This sounds like it's also good for players who haven't played for a long time that want to come back and start to play again. Gives them the opportunity to build that musculature and strength and to play their horn again that maybe they haven't played for a couple of years.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I got to the point where I wasn't playing that much and I thought, gee, I don't really want to lose my chops. I want to come back to at least an adequate level of playing.
Absolutely.
What should I?
It all happens to all of us.
Well, what should I? So they say. But what should I work on? And just by trial and error and discovery, I realized when I played these things, my progress
accelerated
amazingly.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the idea, and I thought, well, this works. What do horn players need? What would be a succinct sort of booklet that somebody could access and apply in a regular part of their routine that's going to give them progress quickly in power and endurance. And
right.
This is it.
And that's fabulous. And again, I'm going to reiterate what you said earlier, is it's not just for trumpet players. It's really for any brass player, tubas, trombonists, euphonium players, French horn players. Anybody that plays a brass instrument is going to really benefit from this.
Well, Mother Nature dictates that there are certain overtone series in every instrument, every brass instrument. Well, actually every instrument, but in every brass instrument, the fundamental and the second harmonic and the third and the fourth and fifth.
Absolutely.
All of those brass instruments have those. All of these etudes are built on those. And once you can achieve them with the consistency of sound, you master the instrument.
Wow. Well, it's great talking to you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I know that I've had a lot of people come to the website and purchase Extreme Power and Endurance, and lots of people commenting how much they love it. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the opportunity, Wayne.
Go to extremebrass.com.